Hello friends, welcome to this video. Today I'm going to share with you some valuable information about civil engineering in Canada. And by the end of this video, you will know, number one, how much do civil engineers earn in Canada as per each province? And number two, what is the scope of civil engineers in near future? Do you know it was civil engineers who created the water slide? Welcome to Let's Ask Razdan, and here we talk about various career choices, money, and everything else around it. Before we get into the thick of the things, let me tell you, my mission is to help people build a successful career and a fulfilling life doing what they love to do. So before we go into the details, feel free to grab yourself some coffee and a journal if you want to take some notes. To start with, what do civil engineers do? Civil engineering is probably the oldest form of engineering present. Civil engineers conceive, design, build, supervise, operate, construct, and maintain infrastructure projects, as well as systems in the public and private sector, which includes your roads, buildings, airports, dams, tunnels, you name it, they do it. The list goes on and on and on. Now let's jump to the topic of this video and talk about how much civil engineers make on an average in Canada. We'll talk about salaries in 6 big provinces and compare it across various experience levels. By experience level, I mean working at entry, mid, and senior level positions. There are mainly two industries that hire civil engineers in Canada. Number one, construction sector, which consists of homes, offices, and other infrastructure projects like highways, roads. Number two, energy sector, which includes renewable, non-renewable like wind, solar, hydropower, and the list goes on and on and on. Few things to keep in mind before we proceed. Number one, these numbers are annual base salary in thousands of Canadian dollars per year. And number two, these numbers are for people working as civil engineers and not someone with a civil engineering degree and working in some other role. And all the numbers here in this video are generated by Economic Research Institute of Canada. So how about we pick up a province from west and one from east and then kind of meet in the middle? So it's the beautiful British Columbia, that's the first one. So let's look at the numbers that we get from Greater Vancouver and Greater Victoria regions of British Columbia. In Greater Vancouver, you get paid between $77,000 and $102,000 at entry-level roles, $88,000 to $117,000 in mid, and $100,000 to $133,000 in senior roles. The numbers are same for civil engineers in both construction as well as energy sectors. But that's not the case with Victoria, and people in energy sector make a bit less than their counterparts in construction sector. Just one thing to keep in mind, that living in Victoria is way cheaper compared to Vancouver. The Vancouver real estate prices are crazy. Now let's jump to the east and see how numbers stack up there for civil engineers. So the first region we'll talk about in east is Quebec City, that is the capital area of the province. Civil engineers who are in construction sector start around $55,000 at entry level, and those working at senior roles can earn up to $105,000. But there's good news for ones who work in energy sector. Entry level starts at around $70,000, and as they gain experience, they can earn up to $122,000, which is good $15,000 to $20,000 more than their counterparts in construction. Even numbers in other parts of Quebec like Montreal and Laval are very similar to that from Quebec City, and the pattern in salary differences are also consistent across various experience levels. So the first province from the prairies is Alberta, the wild rose country. Well, this is not related to our today's video, but I feel like sharing that Alberta is the first province to lift all COVID-related restrictions in Canada. Let's start with Calgary first. And salaries in construction sector look very similar to what other provinces offer, starting between $62,000 to $82,000 for entry, $70,000 to $94,000 for mid-career level, and $80,000 to $106,000 for senior level roles. But story is a bit different when it comes to salaries offered to civil engineering folks working in energy sector. It starts from $83,000 for entry level and goes all the way up till $142,000 for senior roles. Now let's move 300 kilometers north of Calgary and give you a feel of salaries offered in the capital city, Edmonton. The salaries in construction are a bit more than Calgary, with entry level starting around $80,000, going all the way up to $136,000 for senior level roles. For those in energy sector, numbers are almost similar between both the cities, Calgary and Edmonton. The reason for this big gap between salaries offered by construction and energy is primarily due to two reasons. Number one is that the energy sector is dominated by oil companies and they pay well compared to others. And the second one is that they are located up north of Alberta, where employees are paid northern allowance and few other perks for living away from their families in camps. Okay, now let's talk about the most populous province in Canada, Ontario. Ontario is so big that I can make an entire video about civil engineer salaries there. But I'm not going to do that, and I'll try to sum it up all here in this one video. If we look at all the places covered, the numbers are more or less similar across all parts of Ontario except Durham and York region. Population in Ontario is so big that it's easy for companies to find people there, and when the supply is large and the demand is constant, the price tends to go down. The price here being your annual compensation. Before we jump to the next one, I would like to tell you that degrees and diplomas only make you eligible for entry into the corporate world. What makes you succeed and grow are your soft and technical skills. The numbers in Winnipeg, Manitoba are pretty much similar to parts of Ontario for civil engineers in construction. They make around $71,000 to $95,000 as entry level, $81,000 to $110,000 in mid level, and $93,000 to $125,000 at most experienced senior roles. Now let's look at energy sector, and they start between $60,000 to $80,000 and earn between $80,000 to $104,000 in senior roles. To be honest, I'm very much surprised by the gap of around $20,000 at the higher end, but even $104K is not bad, is it? Now the last one, Saskatchewan, the land of living skies. Regina and Saskatoon are two biggest cities in Saskatchewan, and the civil engineers are paid equally in both the cities. This holds good for civil engineers working in construction and energy sector. They start between $75,000 to $100,000, and over the course of their career, they make between $98,000 to $130,000 in senior roles. You must keep in mind that these are base salaries that I have mentioned in this video. And usually people working in senior roles do end up getting other benefits like stock options, company provided cell phones, company provided vehicles, extra days off, profit sharing, and bonuses. It all depends from one company to another, as well as how good of a negotiator you are. Now let's move to the most exciting part of this video and answer your second question, scope of civil engineers in coming years. But before we go there, I hope you guys are liking this video, and if you are, please show some love by pressing that like button and subscribing to this channel. It will also help me in defeating that evil YouTube algorithm. Now back to the topic of this video. You can see top 25 employment estimates for civil engineers by industry and province. This is based on survey done by Engineers Canada. It clearly tells us that Ontario is the province with most jobs for civil engineers, with majority of jobs in architectural, engineering, and related services, followed by Alberta, Quebec, and British Columbia in similar fields. The estimated numbers from 2020 to 2025 look very similar to 2015 to 2019 numbers. Feel free to pause this video and go through the complete list. I won't mind that. Now let's see how future openings will be fulfilled. This is again taken from Engineers Canada survey, and numbers are divided in two time frames per year, between 2015 to 2019 and 2020 to 2025. Most of the workforce would come from new entrants, that is the young people looking to join civil engineering after finishing their high schools. Total new entrants across the country amount to about half of the job openings forecasted. This means that there are not enough people coming into the labor force as a whole to meet expansion and replacement demand. More than 50% of the supply is met by new entrants, whereas it should be somewhere between 20 to 30% to ensure that there's right mix of experience and the new blood in the profession. Now looking at international migration, Ontario followed by British Columbia is the most preferred location for civil engineers coming into Canada. That is followed by Quebec and Alberta. But if we look at inter-provincial migration, things are slightly different, as we see civil engineers moving out of Ontario and Manitoba and moving into Alberta and British Columbia. I assume it's because of the cold weather of Manitoba, and for Ontario the only reason I could think of is the cost of living due to skyrocketing housing prices. Alberta offers the best wages for civil engineers with one of the lowest costs of living in Canada. British Columbia is still affordable when you move out of Greater Vancouver area. I hope I was able to answer some of your questions regarding scope of civil engineering in Canada. If you like this information and want to buy me a coffee, the link is below in the description. If you don't want to buy me a coffee but still want to support this channel, please share it with at least one more person. Hope you found it informative and I can't wait to see you next time. Till then, stay awesome.